welcome back to Stamping at the Warren, and I'm Kim Tolton, and today I'm making a version of this card here, which is from the Birthday Bloom stamp set, which is here. Look, beautiful stamp set, using it loads and loads. So if I am, I'm sure other people are. And there's a slightly closer look there for you at that beautiful card. And this was another one of the team make and takes, and I'm just going to change it up very, very slightly my own way, and that's what we're going to do. So very girly card. We need girly cards. Us girls have to stick together. Right, so what you need is obviously the Birthday Bloom stamp set and the acrylic blocks that go with it. So I'm using, if I can read it, Block E, Block B and Block A. There you go. Right, so that's your stamp set. I've already got mine mounted up. You then need just a scrap of mint macaron cardstock, a piece of designer series paper, and I'm using the papers from the, get it round the right way, the Blooms and Bliss. There are loads of beautiful papers in there. So I'm using the mint macaroni dapper denim one. And that measures 5 centimetres by 10.1 centimetres. Then there's a piece of Whisper White cardstock to go inside our card. That measures 14.4 by 10.1 centimetres. The card base itself, this is actually Pink Pirouette because I've run out of Blushing Bride. So this was trimmed 30 centimetres by 10.5 centimetres. You then fold and burnish, just so. And then you need a piece of watercolour paper and one of the new doilies, and these are called, I can never remember, Delicate White Doilies. So we will need one of those, and make sure you do pick out only one because they're so closely done together. It's so easy to get two out and then you realise, oh, I've just stuck two down where I wanted one. And that is pretty much it. So whilst we're here and that Whisper White card is there, we're going to stick that down straight away. Otherwise I'll forget it when I get to the end of the card, and then I get frustrated because I've forgotten to put anything inside for people to write on. There you are. And I'm actually going to stamp a little image in there, and I'm going to use the following ink pads, and I'm winging this by literally winging it. So we're going to go Blushing Bride, Flirty, Flamingo and Mint Macaron. Yeah, so those are the colours I'm going to go for. Right, so let's get that little tiny little flower stamp, Flirty Flamingo, stamp off just to remove a little bit of ink, stamp on the page, stamp off, stamp on the page, stamp off, stamp on the page. Then we'll change the colour to Blushing Bride. We're just going to put a few little flowers in there as well. It just makes a nice little feel inside the card. Just stamp off Obviously you should be using your stamping mist between ink pads. I'm just inking off onto my grid paper, and then I'll clean it at the end. And then some mint macaron flowers, and there you've got just a nice little piece inside your card as well. So we can now open that up. Ooh, what have I got Tombow? There we go. And using the Blushing Bride ink pad and that really big stamp, floral stamp, and we're going to create the background. Now you'll have seen me using these in the past, doing this in the past. So we just want the side that we're doing. So nice random stamping, so it's not too routine, it's much more pleasing to the eye. So I rotate my stamps all the time, and I rotate the paper as well. And that is your basic card base made. Right, let's shut this ink pad just for a moment. You also need Archival Black, and that's because we're going to be doing a bit of watercolouring. So there's a couple of tools that you need. You're going to need paper snips, a watercolour, an aqua painter, and a Stampin Spritz. Now the reason for the Stampin Spritz is we're going to stamp using Archival Black, and that's because this is alcohol based, so it will resist the outline when we start watercolouring, so it stops the colour bleeding out too much. So I'm just going to stamp off all the excess ink here. Okay. And then stamp up with Archival Black. You could use grey as well, grey would work really well as well. Again, make sure it's archival. Stamp that onto a piece of watercolour paper. Give it a moment to dry, like that, because I don't want to spritz it too quickly. And then we are going to get that spritzer. No, that's my aqua painter. And give the cardstock just a bit of water. Don't go mad, because we don't want a wet, wet, wet thing. Oh, could be in a song there. And start with Blushing Bride. So, if you haven't seen me do this before, you want to transfer ink from the ink pad to the well, and you do that by squidging the ink pad together like this. Open it up, and there you've got your ink in the well. So we're going to pick ink up and start colouring our flowers. And I'm just going to add colour to each of the flowers, not the leaves yet, but each of the flowers. You don't have to be particular, because the water that we've spritzed on here will actually spread the ink for us, and it will be the Flirty Flamingo that helps to give it definition. And I love the freedom of watercolour. It is my favourite, most favourite technique in the world. You don't have to worry about the lines and things like that, because actually watercolour is a very free technique, and so it really doesn't matter at all if colour does leach out. Right, that's all of the Blushing Bride that I'm doing. So next I'm going for Flirty Flamingo. So let's do the same. Give it a nice squidge, and there's our ink in the well there. So we're just going to start giving a little bit more definition. So you want to start at the base of each flower, just adding colour, or each leaf I should say. Don't take it all the way to the top, and just work on each flower. If you run out of ink, then just squidge your ink pad again, and it will give you more ink in the well. This is a great one. I wouldn't normally talk when I'm doing this, when I watercolour, because I've usually got my tongue hanging out. Right, I think I've got a little bit more to do just here. Oh, little flower there, picking through. Any more flowers? I think I have got all the flowers now. You can see the difference in colour from the two inks we've used already. And then I'm just going to use Mint Macaron for the leaves. So we're going fairly subtle with all of this. Very pretty, very girly. And if your aqua paint gets too dry, just squeeze a little drop into the well, and you will find that you can re-moisten your aqua painter and just carry on as you were before. So I'm just doing all the leaves now. Again, start from the base, work to the tip, and that allows you to draw the colour forwards, so it gives a sort of subtle ombre effect. And the reason we're doing this first is purely time. I still haven't worked out how to do the time lapse for just portions of the videos. I haven't had time. So rather than make you sit here watching me do the whole thing from start to finish, waiting for ink to dry, etc., I'm doing this backwards. I'm doing the watercolour first. And then we can carry on building the card. And this one was designed, well, the original was designed by my colleague Donna, who used a blender pen technique, so we'll be able to look at them side by side to see the difference between blender pen technique and watercolour. And there we have it, that's done. Okey-doke. So So put my aqua painter away. I'm just going to cut that off roughly. And we shall finish that off in a moment. So bring your card base down, and you just want to pop this up here so we don't be in the way. So we're going to have half of one of these beautiful new doilies. And this piece of designer series paper will go across here. Like that. So my Tombow. Pop that down. And then our doily. Don't put too much adhesive on the doily. These are quite fragile, these little ones. And just a hint of glue across, just residual. Pop the doily here, above your designer series paper, just overlapping. There you go. Right, next we're going to stamp our sentiment. So you just want a scrap of paper, crisp or white, and I think I'm going to use Memento because it gives a nicer finish. I'm going to stamp our sentiment. And just bear in mind that we're die cutting this, so you just have to leave room. Don't like that. And now I've got black ink on me. Flip it over. Yeah, just make sure you've got enough room around the edges for die cutting. Okay, so paper snips that. Up comes the big shot. Now I've already selected my two dies that I'm using. So I've got a circle die and a scallop circle. And how I select my dies is I simply offer the die up to the sentiment and select the best fit for what I'm doing. And then when I'm looking at the circle, the scallop circle, I do the same, but I want to judge how much of that circle I want to be seen. Now if we're lucky, we should be able to die cut both of these at the same time. Just make sure that's all nicely lined up for the sentiment. And on my second acrylic cutting plate, pop that on top, pop it through, round we go. And these are from these Layering Circles Framelits dies. That can go back down. And you can see here that, okay, and let's bring the card base down. Where did I put? There. So first of all, we're just going to use fast fuse, not fast fuse, I'm telling lies. We're going to use a Tombow just to pop the scallop circle down. And just overlap the edge and that doily. and then I just want to stamp the sentiment here. Stamp off first and a hint, stamp off first and a hint of colour, and then one in mint macaron, I think, just to make sure we're keeping everything really nicely coordinated. There you go. So next we're going to mount this onto the card base here, and I'm going to use some Stampin Dimensionals for that. Just 3. That's all you need. These are so good, these. You do not need lots and lots and lots of them. So just pop that on your circle. So that we're almost there now. The last bit is some fussy cutting. So you want your paper snips, and we're going to cut around our watercolour piece. Now mine isn't completely dry. I would recommend that yours is completely dry before you cut it out, but you know, I don't want to bore you. And I'm including some of the inked areas that have gone outside just because I think it looks pretty. It's a bit like inking the edges of a card. And I really enjoy fussy cutting. Always have. I can sit in the evenings just fussy cutting out things, especially when I'm making them in bulk, such as preparations for going to a Stampin' Up regional event where we do swaps, and you could make 100 or more of one card design, and rather than doing it during the daytime, I just sit and watch television in the evening. I'm just taking some of the excess off here just so it's a bit less bulky. And you don't want to remove every single detail, but you do want enough detail still showing that it gives definition to the whole piece. You want roughly 1 to 2 millimeters edge around the watercolour piece, which helps give definition once it's mounted on the card. You'll have to let me know if you've ever done watercolouring. If it's your first time, tell me what you make of it. And also, whilst I'm sitting here doing this, hopefully you can see it and not just see my head, I shall tell you, just remind you, you can pin your Stampin' Up creations or Stampin' Up creations you find on Pinterest and other sites that you think are great for sharing. If you would like to start participating in the Stamping at the Warren community board, just start following the board. I will check to make sure that you are interested in Papercraft, and if you are, I will send you an invitation. and then it's down to you to decide whether or not you would like to join the board. And if you do, that's lovely. I think we've got over 300 pinners on there now, so lots and lots of inspiration. And obviously we are coming up to the Christmas season, so there's already starting to get the first Christmas card samples being put up on there. So if you're looking at getting your Christmas cards made soon, it's a great place to start. Right, I'm almost done now. And all of my social media details are in the show more section under today's video. Do leave your questions or comments. I love to hear from you. There we go. If there's anything you'd like to request, then send it to me, and if I can accommodate it, I will. Okay, so all that's left now is to actually mount our art piece up here on the card base. So some Stampin Dimensionals. Now the cardstock obviously warps slightly when it gets moist and it's damp, so I do recommend that you allow your art piece to get completely dry before you mount it, but I'm not going to make you wait that long to watch. And I'm going to go here, I think. So just remove the backing with all those dimensionals. I've used many more than I would normally use because it is still a bit damp and I don't want it to warp once it's actually on the card base itself. But you should get away with about 3 or 4, 5 maybe. There you are. So we are all done. This is the one I've just finished, and this is the watercolour one with an aqua painter, and then this one is a similar card, almost identical. This one's been done using a blender pen technique, so you can see the different looks you can get just by changing your technique. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Do let me know, and I'll see you again very shortly. Don't forget, you can click on the eye icon or the link underneath today's video to be transported immediately over to my blog, where the typed up version of today's tutorial will be found. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and I'll see you again very, very shortly. Ta-ta for now.